What's going on, everyone? Brad here. Today I was going through some old stuff, getting things cleaned up a bit, and I came across this Puukko style blade. I made this quite some time ago, and it was a leftover from a knife show. Now this is a very strong broomstick handle. You can see just how abrupt this drop off is up here towards the ricasso. There's just no profiling in this handle at all. Now I've always been a little bit of a fan of the broomstick style handle, especially in Puukko style blades or just woodsy knives. I find them really easy to use. The downside is you can't really index them, meaning if you were to just grab the handle without looking, you wouldn't really be able to know where exactly the blade is without feeling around for the spine. Not that you should grab a knife without looking. But a lot of people don't like that about the broomstick style handle, and that's probably the reason that this was a leftover at a knife show. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually reprofile this handle, get a nice taper in towards the front and the back, and hopefully develop a little bit of a palm swell that's a little bit more comfortable to hold on to. And I'm gonna shoot to just bring a little bit of new life into this blade. Let's get to it. I'm gonna start things off by wrapping up this blade. I just wanna make sure that I don't damage the edge at all because it looks pretty nice. I might give it a slight touch up on the stone, but overall, this is a pretty good edge and I don't wanna damage it. So I'm just putting paper towel down first, that way I don't get this tape all gunked up all over the steel. I could use some acetone to take it off, worst case, but this will just save me a step in the end. This will not only protect the edge, but it'll also protect my fingers from getting cut while I shape this handle. It's nice to be able to hold on to the edge here while you work on the handle, and it's hard to do that when the blade's exposed. Alright, so you can see that I've got my tapers roughly shaped, tapering down to the butt of the knife and then up towards the front. And it's looking fairly even, and I've got a little bit of mass on here. Once I have my tapers in place, I like to move over to the slack belt, and I'm gonna start blending these tapers in up around the side, being careful not to get all the way up to that spine because I don't like to actually round over the steel itself. I like to have a nice straight spine, so I'm just gonna round over right up to the edge there, and then after that I'll go ahead and blend it just a little bit more with some hand sanding. Well, the reshaping of the handle is coming along real nicely. I've got this up to about 400 grit. You can see by looking at this taper that it's pretty gradual. I didn't want to go too thin with the handle here, but it's got a real nice palm swell, and that makes it a lot harder to slip up onto the blade or to slip back. I think that even a very simple handle reprofile like this one has made for a much more practical blade, and I just know that it's gonna be a lot more comfortable to use. Now, when I'm working with raw or unstabilized wood, such as this black walnut here, I like to give it an overnight oil soak in some boiled linseed oil. That'll really help strengthen the wood, fill those pores, and make sure that it's not gonna be absorbent. Now, I'm not exactly sure when I actually made this knife. I know it was quite some time ago, but doing the overnight oil soaks is something I've been doing since the beginning, so I know that this handle has soaked in the oil overnight at some point. So I'm not gonna go ahead and do an overnight soak on this one right now, but I am gonna throw some oil onto the surface, and that should help to bring out some of the color in this black walnut. I am going to wet sand just a little bit with that oil on the surface here, and that'll help to push some of the wood dust down into any gaps or pores that are in this wood. It looks pretty good to me, but that'll just help to fill anything smaller that's kind of beyond what my eye can see. So I'm just throwing this oil on real thick right now, and what I'm gonna do is take this is some worn out 400 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of sand this oil into the wood. This will result in a smoother finish because the wood dust and the oil is going to kind of work together to fill any small pores in the wood, resulting in a more comfortable handle and sometimes even a better looking handle. And that is extremely smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and oil this one more time, and then I'll bump up to about 800 grit, and it's a little bit unnecessary, but it'll smooth things out just a little bit more and give it a nicer finish. So my final step here is to throw a little bit of wax on the handle. This will really help to protect the blade. It'll also bring out a nice shine with the wood and result in a nicer finish and a longer lasting handle. Waxing a handle makes a huge difference in how well it holds up against moisture, humidity, and water. So it's extremely important, especially in an outdoor knife. It's also gonna help bring out a nice shine, especially in darker woods like this black walnut. You can really see that shine that this wax is putting off. And having a nice waxed and buffed handle like this, it's really nice in the hand. Like it feels waxy, but you don't really get anything on your hands off of it. I don't know, it almost helps improve grip, which I like. Now with my personal knives, I like to re-wax and buff the handles every couple months or so. And that's just about all the maintenance that I give my handles, and they hold up great. I've never had any issues with them. These Scandinavian grinds just get wicked sharp. I'd have to say this is probably my go-to grind for any smaller wood processing tasks. Crazy, crazy sharp. Well, there we have it, a cleaned up and I guess slightly reprofiled knife. It's fun to take something old and breathe a little bit of new life into it. I know this was a very quick and simple video, but I just thought it'd be kind of cool to share some of my processes. A lot of you ask about getting into knife making, and making little modifications and changes to knives, especially in the handle, is part of the way that I got into knife making in the first place. What I would do is buy factory knives, I'd test them out and figure out what I liked, what I didn't like, and I'd make little changes, whether it was tapering the handle or slightly reprofiling the grind or whatever, probably totally destroying the heat treat. I didn't really know what I was doing back then, but that's part of the way I got into it. And cleaning up one of my old blades from a while back was just kind of reminiscent of those days, making small modifications and kind of learning the craft. Well, I hope you found this video interesting, and for those of you just getting started, maybe pick something up along the way. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please drop them down below in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.